Got up this morning, things weren't working right. I said I wanna make a change, I said I wanna fight. Obama walked up and said, yes, we can. I said I wanna ride your nuts, cause I think you're the man. Now I'm dick riding Obama, Obama. Now I'm dick riding Obama, Obama. Now I'm dick riding Obama, Obama. Now I'm dick riding. Dick riding for tomorrow, dick riding for today, dick riding for the straight, dick riding for the gay, dick riding for America, dick riding for rock. It's okay to ride that dick, just as long as it's Barack's, and now we're dick riding.
That's so freaking catchy. It's always so freaking catchy.
And can that
Same thing as like
That could never be done again, too.
Like
Like they can't do that nowadays. Like, because it would be they would get completely destroyed for making that kind of stuff.
Does that basically mean like kissing someone's ass or like like say dick riding?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you do it the way that his chef did it, then you end up getting drowned.
Oh, wait, where's the? Did you already talk about that in one of the? Maybe y'all talked about that on Monday because it was a while back. But
Yeah, that was talking about last week or something, maybe.
Yeah.
They showed Trump's
I think
chef.
I think we very like casually, kind of offhandedly mentioned it, but I don't think we really like dug into it. Like that is kind of a crazy story. Have you seen all the stuff that's kind of been so like the police report has been suppressed, like they won't let the audio of the call be released. The story has changed like three different times. Like there was a second person out there paddleboarding or whatever with this dude, and
like someone who was supposed to be.
Was.
Well,
like,
supposedly he had someone who was training him how to paddleboard or something like I don't know, something like that. And the
dude was arguably a very good swimmer. Like there are like,
video of him. He
had
like,
Instagram videos like of him swimming very well. Like, so yeah, interesting.
Funny. Yeah. It did like seem like really weird that like he's a good swimmer and then all of a sudden he just drowns, and I don't know. That's sus. That's pretty suspect. I don't know.
I mean, people drown all the time, regardless of how good a swimmer they are. But it just seems kind of suspicious, given all of the weirdness surrounding the 911 call and everything else. And I don't know. It's just, who knows? Maybe he just fell off his paddleboard and smacked his head and drowned. But at the same time, like, there was another person there with him, so don't you think, like, I mean, it's not like as the second you hit the water, you drown. Like,
well, what else might be suspicious? The Montgomery brawl that we talked about. There might have been a link there. The Montgomery brawl assault suspect, a Democrat voter. Who would have thought, right? Let's see. Richard Roberts of Orange Beach, Todd. Let's see. Have all been charged with misdemeanor third-degree assault.
But see, in like a southern state, that doesn't mean as much. Like, to say that somebody's a Democrat voter, like, he might just be one of those yellow dogs that never did,
yeah, like my in-laws. They think like, oh well, because Democrats don't want to they want to.
They still think that the Republican Party are a bunch of Yankees who came down and took away their slaves and set them all free. so they'll never vote for them. They're always going to vote Democrat.
Yeah. Bunch of carpetbaggers.
I remember when my dad first changed over his registration from Democrat to Republican, and there was a good friend of the family that he said, if your granddad knew that you were registered as a Republican, he'd roll over in his grave. And my dad said, if my granddad knew what the Democratic Party was, he would roll over in his grave about that. And so that's like, yeah, the amount of people in like the rural South that still haven't figured out that the Democrats are not what they were in the 1940s.
Well, insane. Apparently, Republicans are good people, but they break some things. They cause a lot of problems. Here, listen to this.
When you hear the Ukraine exchange there, it's like watching the open of an old Tucker Carlson show. He's not there anymore, but that's what it is. And these are busy people, these are hardworking people. There are too many Democrats who want to say they're deplorables or, why talk to these people? There are millions of them. This is a family that literally is an economic anchor in the community. The business started in the basement, employs 80 people. The new solar company employs 15 people in a part of the country that has been devastated economically and challenged economically the last 25 years. They're good people. They raise money for the Girl Scouts. They go to church, but they believe things that would break our fact check machine. That's just a fact. And they don't trust us. They think we're part of the problem.
God, I can't believe why. I can't understand why. It's just hard to believe, like why wouldn't they trust?
Love you, bye.
Why would they believe
when he says they believe things that would break our fact check machine? Well, they don't believe things that would break your fact check machine because they're so wrong. They believe things that would break your fact check machine because your fact check machine will start spinning out of control because it can't keep trying to spin the fact that they're actually right and the fact check machine is full of shit. Did you see I had posted that thing about it was the CNN headline that said, it's important to remember that as temperatures cool, climate change will be back next summer, and it gets blocked out on Facebook as being a altered image, and it comes with like 6 different fact checks. What the fuck are you doing, you moron? It comes with 6 different fact checks that say that, this is an altered image and this wasn't a real article. I'm like, I literally took the screenshot from the article itself. It's not, this isn't
a fake article. It's not fake news.
This isn't a fake article. It was real. The picture that I posted was the screenshot I took of it.
So here's what I think happened.
They put the article up, and then
they changed the title.
A ton of backlash because everybody's like, "Oh, you're just saying the way it is," and then they took it down, and then within a week,
changed the title.
They started running all of the spin on why this. And the really crazy thing is the real article. I love you. Bye. Have a good day, dear. The real article, or the original article that this kind of originated from, was published in 2018, and you can still find that one. Like, it was basically the CNN article that ran last summer was more or less a plagiarization of a 2018 article that effectively said the same thing, and that's still out there.
Well, they just do that every few years, Like every couple of years they have to recirculate those articles. So they pretend like it's new, but it's a lot of it's the same old song and dance. They just have to. They're trying to repackage it in different ways to see what gets people actually buying into it.
I try to keep this stuff like bookmarked, that way whenever it does finally disappear, I'm like, all right, I've got the link. I know this existed, and now it doesn't. Like, there's an article from 2017 about Moderna, and Moderna was a failing company in need of a Hail Mary in the form of these experimental vaccines that they were trying to get to take off. And like, I keep waiting. I click on that article about once a week or so just to see. Like, I keep waiting and expecting that one of these days that article is going to not be there anymore whenever I go to pull it up. I can't believe it. I can't believe it hasn't been taken down yet. Honestly.
Yeah.
Are we gonna get Dag for sure, or he gonna keep popping in and out?
I think Dag, he disappeared.
I think I'm back.
Oh,
Hey,
there he is.
We can hear you this time anyway.
I'm
There you
just
go.
keeping my camera off. Hopefully it'll help. Oh.
What browser did you switch over to? Just for
Well,
curiosity.
the only other one it looks like I had on my computer was fucking Explorer or whatever, and that didn't work well. So I switched back over to Brave,
Brave.
just because it's not I could barely load a website like 2 minutes ago when I cut out. So something about just the internet just sucks. So I'm gonna call T-Mobile and bitch, and not really much they can do probably, but at least then I can do my part before I figure out what the fuck I'm gonna switch to.
You never know. It could be some like background program running on your computer too.
Yeah, I guess that's.
Or it says he
possible.
still knows he still knows what you're doing. So
all the FBI spyware on my computer, I'm sure, is just bogging it down like crazy.
When I was having a bunch of internet issues back a year or so ago, whenever we had first moved into the house, after we finally got the line issues fixed with like the busted lines coming that ran to the house and everything. Once we finally got all of that stuff taken care of, and they got it where we actually had like solid connectivity and good speed coming in and out, then my computer was still bogging down. I say, okay, so why do I have all of the speed but my computer is still for shit? And start going through like background programs and stuff that were running, and there was stuff that was just tying up literally 100% of my bandwidth for no reason at all, just shit that ran in the background. So I went through and started removing stuff and deleting stuff, and
well, it's
taking
like if you
permissions off
it's like if you open certain things, like they keep running in the background, like even if you close it, like stuff like Steam,
Task Manager. Let's see.
Well, yeah, there was stuff that was constantly running, like it was constantly syncing and running updates in the background. It's like, no, like this shouldn't be running 100% of the time. It should only run like
when it actually has some updates. Yeah.
Yeah, sync and run an update once a week or something. Like it shouldn't be 100% of the time this thing is tying up all of my bandwidth while it's constantly in sync and update mode. Like that's fucking stupid. And that's most of what it was. I just had to go in and change the permissions on a bunch of stuff, but it was a pain in the ass.
See, I was having something with mine. I was like, started looking into it, and I was like, okay, well, I need to like completely update my like BIOS firmware, and stuff like that. And so I had to update BIOS and all that kind of stuff. Like, okay, I flashed my BIOS, and then now it works. What the hell? Like, why did it even have a problem to begin with? It's like, oh, this Windows update broke some because of some BIOSes that the way that they would. I don't know.
Don't you love it when that happens? When the computer won't let you do anything unless you run the update. But then when you run the update, then it breaks a bunch of other shit. Then you have to go back in, manually remove the update that you just ran, reinstall the stuff that had been there before the update. Like I had that happen on my work computer one night. It wouldn't let me do anything unless I ran this update. So I ran the update,
and it breaks.
And then it wouldn't let me access any of my other screens. It would only let me access the little tiny ass screen on the laptop itself. So then I had to go back in and manually remove everything that the update just installed, and then reset it all back to what it had been before the update. Fucking stupid. It took me 4 hours to get that shit fixed. I spent a third of my night just sitting there trying to get the computer to work. Insane. I love technology, isn't it grand? Fucking Uncle Ted was right, as always.
See, we could go back to the days of physical stuff, and we could play with playing cards here, And
let's get to the spicy talk.
A pallet of $300,000 worth of Magic the Gathering cards was stolen at Gen Con. These guys,
Oh,
they made out like this is.
do we know? It's not,
Oh, we lost Dak. Dak cut out on purpose. I bet.
He's like,
I
I know that guy.
I was about to ask him if he had an alibi for the day that this happened.
Well, no, see, this is his supplier. Like this, this is how he gets his Magic the Gathering cards. He uses this guy. Like you don't want to rat him out. You know, that would be. You don't sell out your sources, right? You don't sell out your dealer.
You see, Corey says Friday's supposed to be the spicy show. Quit talking about the nerdy stuff.
If we want to talk about spicy stuff, we could I guess we could play this. I don't know if you saw this song that was going around on Twitter. It's pretty great. It's actually a good country song. Here.
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours, bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. The rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end. Cause the rich men, cause the rich men. I wish politicians look out for miners, and not just miners on an island somewhere. Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the whole beast milking welfare. God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground, 'cause all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. Lord, it's a damn shame.
It's actually really good. I was surprised.
I was about to say the only reason you like him is because he's a ginger, but that was a pretty good song.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, he's the Richmond, north of Richmond, because obviously DC is north of Richmond, so that's what he's.
Yes, thank you for that geography lesson. Also, B-Dub stands for Buffalo Wild Wings. For those who didn't get that memo.
See, we didn't have one before, so I got an excuse on that one.
That was Mark's shining moment in the sun. Explaining that B-Dub stands for Buffalo. That was before you had joined the show.
Oh no, y'all had to explain that to me too, because I was like B-Dubs, like I knew what Buffalo Wild Wings was, and you said, oh, Buffalo Wild Wings. And I was like, oh, yeah, I know what. I don't know. We've only had one like for like the past 3 or 4 years, or maybe a little bit longer. I don't know. Yeah,
Wow,
we haven't had one.
It's impressive.
Well, it's
we need to talk about the show title for today. We got the anniversary of the Sky King. How
Yep.
long ago was that?
That's 5 years ago. 5 years.
5 years ago. Regale us with the story of the Sky King. You got a. There was a
There
post
once.
that showed like his his flight pattern and everything.
Let's see. I don't know if I have the one with his flight pattern, but oh, oh man. Okay. Well,
It was pretty.
they don't. Let's see. They don't like.
The flight pattern was pretty interesting because he steals a plane and then he just kind of flies for a while and then he circles around a mountain. It's like at 14,000 feet, which is pretty fucking awesome. And then he flew out.
He does a barrel roll.
Basically, he was just like sightseeing, and then he goes, "I'm gonna try a barrel roll, and we'll see how that goes. And if it works out, then
I'll dive.
Then we'll take it from. Then I'll come down and take it from there." And it didn't seem like he was intent on crashing the plane, but he did ultimately crash it and die. And obviously, it could have just been he didn't know how to land, and so while it wasn't
I like how
crash,
he was thinking about like, oh, they might have anti-aircraft. Like they were asking him to land, and he was like, they might have anti-aircraft. And they were like, oh, they don't have that. I need to stop looking at the fuel because it's going down quick. Take you to the southeast. This is probably jail time for life, huh? I would hope it is for a guy like me. Let's see. See, this is like, oh man, dude, this sucks. I'd like to apologize to each and every one of them. Just a broken guy. I got a few screws loose, I guess. Never really knew it until now. Jeez, dude. Just imagine. Well, I mean, he flew really well. Like, I mean, I think like people were wondering, like, was he just not able to land, or did he intentionally crash? I feel like he intentionally crashed because he knew if he landed, but that he would. I mean, it could have been both. It could have been a mixture of like he didn't necessarily do the landing gear quick enough or something like that. But I think he probably knew, like, if I land, then I'm gonna be in jail for life, and this would be dying. I guess would be better than being in jail for life.
That's fucked up. Like, why would you put a guy in jail for life for going on a joyride in an airplane? Like, there's literal child rapists that get like 18 months. But we're gonna give a guy that just joyrides in an airplane life. Like, I'd have landed that bitch and been like, all right, look at this motherfucker and this motherfucker and this motherfucker. Like, I should walk free, if anything.
There's literal murderers. Forget there was a case here. I think here in Alabama, there was a literal murderer that got only like 5 years. And I was like, Jesus Christ! Like, only 5 years for murder. I mean, if I was a statistics kind of person, and I looked at that and I wanted to, like, oh well, I can murder, steal a lot of money or something like that, hide it away, and then come back in 5 years. I mean, if I was someone who was just like, oh 5 years, that's not a big time. If I make a huge investment, I mean, if I'm it's just like, dude, this is stupid. I don't know. Yeah, I agree. Like the people doing this kind of stuff, honestly, it would have been better to like, hey, give him a job in the military. Like, oh, you want to be a pilot? Hey, I would love for you to be a pilot in the military. Like, just give. I mean, because it sounds like this dude was down on his luck. Give him a freaking job flying those planes. Because like, if he can do honestly, just if he can do a barrel roll, I mean, I guarantee the dude could be flying like on a regularly, like being able to fly there for the military.
I mean, with the recruiting numbers down the way they are in the military, we're not too far away from them starting to take prisoners and give them, or people who are facing convictions, and be like, all right, look, you got the choice. You can either do your time in jail, or you can go join the military. Or that
almost reminds me of. Have you ever seen the movie Gamer?
Yes.
Yeah, dude, I actually like that movie because the idea, like the prisoner being, having to be the one that goes and plays in this quote unquote game where they're being controlled by, other like kids and stuff, and that one kid is just like really good in controlling this guy, and he's having to rely on the kid to keep him alive each round or whatever.
Well, I mean, I think they already do to some extent a jail or military thing with like 18-year-olds, like young teenagers that get in some trouble, and it's like, well, we can either, like you can get probation or do some time or whatever, or if you go join the military and do 4 years, then you won't, we'll wipe your record. You won't have anything on your record. So I know they already do some of that to a very lesser extent, but
it's more of like a recommendation of like, hey, maybe
to start doing it for like adult criminal offenders who are, like violent criminals or something like that. Like, I mean, I could see this being a very real possibility at some point in the near future when you consider the military's recruiting numbers are as abysmal as they are now. Hell, I've got to put gas in the truck. Who was the guy that was suggesting not too long ago that they needed to like reinitiate the draft or something?
Oh man, I forget. Military.com was saying they need to do the draft. Yeah,
I gotta pop out. I gotta put gas in my truck. I'll be right back.
Gotcha.
Hopefully DAG is working now.
Yeah, here's where it was. It was like last week. Military.com says we need a limited military draft. Like, no, we don't. Bunch of idiots like wanting to like draft because you know what, like this definitely leads to like a World War III, because they're gonna have their only reason they would do that is for the Russia-Ukraine stuff, and Jesus Christ, this is insane. I don't know who I don't know of anybody that's really in favor of the draft period, much less like instituting it.
Especially so they talk so much shit about how terrible it is that Russia uses prisoners for their military stuff that they're doing, and then they talk so bad about how Russia's doing that. They don't say anything about how Ukraine is literally drafting like any young man that they can, and just send it, and not even giving them training, just sending them straight to the front lines to be fucking cannon fodder. Like, they act like it's such a terrible ordeal that Russia is doing this. They don't say anything about Ukraine, and now they're wanting to propose that we do the same thing. For what? Like, why do we need a stronger military presence anywhere? Like, because things are getting out of hand in South America, where you've got all of these like right-wing authoritarian leaders coming into power and gaining popularity because they have such a crime problem, and the right-wing authoritarians are the ones who are actually coming in with a plan and like wanting to do something about the crime and put a stop to it. Or you've got, the stuff that's happening in like Mali and Niger, where you've got coups where they're running the fucking French and the UN out of these countries because the French and the UN were supposed to be stopping terrorist attacks and stuff like that, but instead they've done nothing. And so now they're like, all right, if y'all aren't going to do anything, we're going to run you out and we're going to take care of it ourselves. Like, the whole thing is fucking insane. And that's the only reason we need a stronger military, is so we can continue to run our own coups all over the world.
Yeah, that's what they're aiming for, is we need a strong military. It's not if it was just a strong military to the like, okay, we don't want to be all over the world. We just want to protect, like, here, and we have a strong military to deter people from coming over here and screwing with us, right? That's understandable. I completely get that. Now, no, I can understand how some people, like, especially like, people, libertarian types, they're saying like, okay, if you have a big military, obviously that's a threat to the other countries, and that's why that it sort of provokes other countries. I don't view it that way. I view it as, it's just protecting your country's interest. But a lot of people sort of think of it that way. But then, yeah, if what they're wanting to use it for is actually to like, okay, well, we want to station troops here, 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 and then we have all of these sort of interests controlled, and a lot of it's honestly, I think people don't understand how much of it is more about economics than it is about the actual protecting of those countries, liberating democracy. All these are like they're just ways for them to say like, hey, we want to have some economic control over this country. That's really what it boils down to.
Yeah, I mean, we've already got even with our recruiting numbers down the way they have been, we still have like the largest military on the planet anyway. Am I coming through all right? When I crank my truck back up, this thing fucking switched my audio settings, and now I'm not sure if it's.
Yeah, it's just coming through the
fucking technology. Uncle Ted was right. I'm going back to I'm gonna buy like a 1960s Mustang and just drive that. And fuck all this technology bullshit.
Oh god. Well, without technology, we probably wouldn't get to hear this. So, I mean, there are some advantages to technology.
Yeah, it's your boy Big T. Shout out my boy Dom, Cat Turd, DC Drano, you already know. Peace to Melania. Shout out Junior. Feminem is done. Dear M, you used to be cool, but now you're soft. Maybe you and Tom Hanks both were on that island lost. I used to be a fan until you started getting white guilt. You quiet till you diss me. Now you go hear my skill. You said people who support me usually white and broke. Did you forget your roots, M? I got your family's vote. You used to speak your mind and not care about me and Casper. Now these crats got you out there tap dancing. At least MGK isn't scared to be himself. You and Macklemore are white, but both wish you were in pale. I got more street cred than you. They trouble me in jail. I'm rich and my wife's a supermodel. I can't fail. Mega is a cool word, but I'm thinking about changing it to mega. Please make Eminem great again. I'm about to go martial law on Marshall Mathers. Eminem beating me is fake news like Dan Rather. You said I got you flustered. I bet you really love me. Maybe fix Detroit first. It's like a third world country. Trust me, I'm a win this battle bigly. This is huge. Every rapper used to love me till they trusted fake news.
This is great.
Who made that? That's amazing.
I think it's this person's called Harez the rapper. Apparently they do some of this kind of stuff.
Who was the ginger hillbilly? Corey wants to know.
Oh, let's see. What's his name? His name is.
I've seen that video going around a couple times, but
his name is Oliver Anthony. Oliver
there
Anthony. Yeah, apparently a lot of people are. He might be getting like a deal or something like that, like where he would, I don't know, like maybe a record deal or something like that, because a lot of people were sharing it. So hopefully he does. He kind of
anymore. That's the way you become a popular musician, is have a YouTube video or something go viral, and then next thing you know, you got contracts. Because I mean that is the way that this world that we live in works. A viral video is all it really takes.
Yeah, it's so weird because it used to be like you wouldn't know who the up and coming artists were because they would be kind of like in the background, waiting their turn. Because a lot of times it would be like, okay, well, we want to, we push Elvis until Elvis is dead, and then we push a new artist, and then that was kind of like how the labels they would like find somebody and basically, essentially like groom them to be the next star, and then get them into there, and then let them to be the new pop star or whatever, and then basically just cycle through them until they find
or you'd be
a new
like
person.
or you'd be like an opening act for somebody, and you go on the road and do shows and stuff, and then if something happened, and that the ones that you're
be the
opening
headliner.
for break up, if they break up or something happens, or you happen to get like noticed and one of your songs like hits big, then you get bumped up and you become you get to be the headliner and get somebody that opens for you. And like, you know, it was the waiting your turn thing. That nobody waits their turn anymore. Now it's just flash in the pan. Like whatever hits the hardest, the fastest, that'll run to the top, and then as soon as it fizzles out, somebody else will. Yeah, somebody else will run to the top as that one's running into the ground. It's very very
It's like
up
a
and
race
down.
to the
We don't-
bottom. It's like a race to the bottom at this point. Like the way that the music industry is working.
So Magic the Gathering cards are basically valueless, except on a subjective level. You know, they have no utilitarian purpose other than leveling a wobbly table. So when something like this happens and a pallet of them is stolen, does that bring like some sort of inflationary effect into the Magic the Gathering community? Because they just print more, right? I mean, they're not actually lost.
Well, no, see the
Sorry, I had to
because
jump
of-
back in.
So
I love it. I
interesting.
love it. It's,
I could nerd out and I could spurg out on this, but you know, like essentially, it's its all its own economy, right? Like the card economies, like, or you could do a whole study on them themselves, like, but there's a whole logistics and economic way that the market works for particular card games. So
Right, it's
say for
a
Magic,
little bit of like market, and a little bit of like monetary theory, you know, kind of rolled into one.
yeah. It's like both, because it's like, well, we can always like they can always print more, right? They like, but there are certain cards that they run very limited prints of, and they some that they never reprint. So like the reason that the Black Lotus, like I'm sure you've heard of the Black Lotus card from Magic. The reason that it is so valuable, the reason that they keep selling for more and more and more as time goes on, is primarily because of inflation. But also the reason that they're selling for more and more is because they've never reprinted that card. So if they ever were to reprint that card, then obviously the value of those other ones immediately decreases, which is why they're probably not ever going to reprint it, because they do have to consider this as part of the market, you know, situation. Like they do.
They'd have to do like a special edition version of it or something, you know, so it has some sort of value that is still different from the original, right? The original is still more valuable.
Well, it's like they printed a one of one. They only printed one card of, and it was called they did a crossover with Lord of the Rings. And they did a one of one card that only one printed card of the One Ring from Lord of the Rings, and that card, you know, is insanely valuable. The guy sold it to Post Malone for $2 million. Apparently, Post Malone is a Magic the Gathering card fan.
So is that a card you would take and like play with in a tournament or something, or is that
No.
just something that sits behind glass in your basement?
Those are always collector items. Like they're never going to be
okay.
played. Could you play it? Probably, but like a lot of times, like the cards that they make for that kind of promotional stuff, or that kind of, you know, that become those kind of lost relics, are generally not something that would be playable in the modern format, you know. So
Gotcha. Cool, thanks. There's a cool documentary. I don't remember what it is about Beanie Babies. It's sort of the same thing. It's like, oh, it's this great thing, and then they're like, they were all limited runs, so they had value, and then they just announced like, oh, we're just gonna make more, and everyone's like, well, the market's fucked. There goes my fucking retirement. You know. But it's like, you gotta be careful how you gotta be careful how you dole them out. You know, you dole out too many, they lose value. You know, so it's.
But yeah, all the card games are like that. They understand their economy, and they know, like, okay, this card is like this is a $100 card. Maybe we should, like, if it's something that people want to use for like in like the competitive format, like then they'll go, okay, well, if people want to use this in the actual competition, it's a really expensive card. Maybe we'll do a lower rarity version of it, so that way people can have a copy of it without paying $100, because it does make those like competitive decks like really expensive when you do
Right. It's like you can have like a collector's version and then like a player's version or something.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of this show? We were watching. It's called what is it? It's like 100 Humans or something, and it's kind of like a like social psychology. I mean, it's stupid. It's a TV show, right? But social psychology like experiment thing, and they have like 100 people, and they do like these sort of like psychological tests on them, and they have to make it entertaining or whatever. But like would people give uglier people harsher prison sentences than better looking people? So they bring people in and say, here's a crime, here's a photo of the person who committed it, how much time do you think they should get? And it'd be like the pretty girl who left her baby in the back seat to cook to death while she went in the bar and drank got like 17 years, but the ugly woman got like 40 years or something. And the same thing with like guys, the guy drug dealer who was ugly is like, oh man, lock him up forever. And the guy drug dealer who was like good looking, it was like, well, he probably just needed the gun to defend himself, so like they got that, but stuff like that. But anyhow, what I wanted to tell you guys about was this the one that I watched last night. It was like, can people be like matchmakers or whatever? So they bring a person in and they'd say, okay, here's 6 people we want you to take and pair them up with who you think their partner is, so naturally,
let me guess, everybody was horrible.
well no, is everybody picked a girl and a guy and matched them up together, right? And me and the wife are watching. She goes, they're gay. She's like, I know it. She's like, those people are gay and those people are gay, and sure enough, and that means if one pair is gay out of the 3 pairs, it means a gay, a les, and a normal, right? A grouping, okay? Which is something like statistically, if you pick 3 couples,
extremely low. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, never gonna happen, right? But so I mean, maybe in some cities, but they're like horrified. Oh, man. Yeah, these people just never even considered, the possibility that one of them might be gay, and it's like, it's not that, it's like, and they kept trying to make it out like people had like this underlying like homophobia or something, and it's just like, no, that's not it. But they bring in like a professional on gender studies and whatnot, so it's a younger black woman with curly hair, and I'm like, oh God, I already hate this person, but she goes, not because she's a black woman, goddamn, don't take that out of context, she's a gender studies person, I hate whatever she has to say. But lo and behold,
the gender studies degree, it wasn't that she was black, it's the gender studies degree that
young
just
black
painting
woman,
a picture.
As soon as
It
she
fit the
walks
bill.
on the screen, Dag's just like, nope, don't like this.
Nope, I don't care. But she actually goes, well, this was kind of an unfair test because the likelihood, the people, it's not a game per se, right? Doing the experiment, but playing the game, it would be a very bad strategic move to guess that one of them is gay, because then you have to guess the 2 pairs are gay. And then, goddamn, what if you're one of the dudes who's like the subject of this, and oh yeah, well, you must be gay with that guy, and it's like, no, I'm straight. What do you mean?
it's like all of you are gay. Like,
yeah, well, it's like throw one trans in the mix, and you really make it awkward,
okay, is the dude gonna like the trans, or the chick gonna like it?
Yep. Oh, then you're the guy and you get stuck with the man woman, and you're like, ah, damn it. Supposedly one person out of the 70 that they tested got it correct and actually picked them right. It was some old lady. But even they had like a super.
Them old women have like a superhuman sense for that. Like they just know.
Yeah, something ain't right with them. But they had. I'm like, well, here's the test: do they have a gay person, or they had someone who was very, as they call themselves, queer, and looked at there, and that person was like, oh man, I didn't even cross my mind, that one of them that might be a gay, couple or whatever. And it's like, see, it's not like a fucking evil cis white male thing.
they were playing odds. Like, they were like, okay, in general, most people.
Well,
somebody knowing the way things work these days should have guessed.
The statistical probability of you having a gay, a lesbian, and a straight couple all in that room is so low. It's like, why would you ever pick that? Like, there's no reason to make that selection unless you're trying to game a system that you think has already been gamed against you. Like,
exactly.
Unless you're that
40
like
chess.
Right.
You're like, something ain't right here. You're like,
right.
Wait a minute.
The only reason,
or you're like, you just have this like intuition of just like the gaydar goes off. Like, oh, this dude looks really fruity, and that
the
dude
only
kinda looks
reason
really
that
fruity.
you would pick that way is if you went into the test assuming that it had been rigged against you. Like
Yeah.
they've already rigged this, and then that makes you seem.
I'm
even
surprised
more
the
crazy.
gender
Like,
studies
if you're the
chick
person who picked it
would-
right, that means you probably are like super conspiratorial. You probably a QAnon and all kinds of other crazy stuff. Like,
That's why
and then
Grandma
that's gonna
got it.
and then that's gonna
Yep.
tell them something else about you, and now you're getting yourself put on all kinds of lists.
Yeah, now
yeah.
Grandma's gonna be on all kind of lists. But yeah, no, I was surprised that you said the gender studies chick was like, oh yeah, this isn't fair, because like I would think she would be like, yeah, all these people are bigoted, and all
That's
this
what I
stuff.
was expecting. So I was like, oh my God, she's my favorite one in the whole bunch all of a sudden, because everyone who got it wrong was so like embarrassed, right? They're like, oh man,
Like,
I feel I've got some
I've
got some inner
It's like,
searching to
no.
do, like, no, dude, you made the right call. Like, it was wrong, but it was still the right call, like, yeah, man, it was a trip. But yeah, I mean, the gender studies lady still went on a little bit of a speech afterwards, but she was like, yeah, like the numbers. She's like, this is like this. And I was even talking to Wayne about it yesterday before I even installed this segment about the thing, and I'm like, it's kind of interesting, but you just know that there's nothing scientific about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be entertaining or whatever, but it's going to be whatever results the show wants you to see, or whatever social message they want to get across, which they've already started doing. And I think she said that the wife, that is, that they after I went to bed, they did like a racism one or something too. Like, raise your hand if you think you're racist or something. in front of everybody. If you think you're smarter and racist, raise your hand.
Yes, I believe both of those things.
Justin should be signed up for one of these things. All of a sudden, he's just like, "Yep," and then all like, "Well,
How do I get in?
How
do I get in on one of these like experiments or whatever? Just like somebody who is unabashedly going to be honest. It doesn't matter how many people you put in the room. It doesn't matter what the demographics of the room are. I'm just going to be straight up honest with whatever my opinion is, and everybody else can hate me for it whenever we're done. But it's not like I'm ever going to see any of these people again. So fuck it. Why would I care?
They definitely need like a you in that group. If nothing else, somebody that they can just constantly shame, throughout the whole show. It really helped ratings. Apparently 1% of the population. Yeah.
This racist bigot, like
you're the worst 1% of the population in their eyes.
I wanted to tell a story, which you're coming in with the Magic the Gathering cards reminded me of. So when we were in college, a bunch of us were sitting around drinking, and a buddy of ours was telling us a story about something he had done like the previous week or whatever, and then just all of a sudden mid-story he just stops talking, like head goes down, he passes out. We're like, well, okay then. He had been drinking quite a bit, so, and it wasn't uncommon for him to pass out when he was drinking, but we had never experienced him like mid-story just stop talking and pass out. About an hour and a half later, we're all still sitting there like shooting the shit and drinking and hanging out. About an hour and a half later, his head comes back up and he picks up right where he had left off, like nothing happened. Like he had not just
was he like
been dead to the
narcoleptic
world
or
for
something?
an hour and a half. And then all of us just start laughing. He's like, "What? What'd I say?" Like, dude, you've been passed the fuck out for an hour and a half. Like, you just picked right back up with your story right where you left off, like nothing happened. He's like, "No, I didn't do that." And it's like, "Yeah, dude, you've been sitting over there like dead to the world."
He's like, "Oh my God, I lost time. I must have got abducted." What's up, Jay?
What's up, fella? No, one of my granddaddies used to do that. He would be talking and then fall asleep and then wake up and, just like nothing happened.
You and Magic the Gathering, it reminded me of it because when you left, we were talking about the cards, and as soon as you came back in, the first thing out of your mouth was,
"Oh man, I had a whole bunch of other stuff I wanted to talk about." Well, when my computer cut out right when I was about to start talking about the Magic the Gathering theft, and I was going fuck, beating on my desk with my fists. I was so mad. I was like, it was just getting good. Oh well. So was it a whole pallet, like still attached to the wooden pallet, or like a box at a time? Like, did they slip it out in backpacks, or do they need a forklift?
No, they straight up took the pallet, dude. Like they took the
Nice.
whole.
Yeah, you had a pallet. The dude had a pallet jack in the picture,
Yeah.
taking it out.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
He was just rolling it out, rolled out. You know, he had it on the lift, and just like completely took the whole pallet, and just like all the way out to a truck.
Modern day Italian.
Did I tell you about the dude at Lowe's that stole a refrigerator?
He just
Hey,
walked right out the fucking door.
Yeah.
I was up at the front working at the paint desk, and all of a sudden, like, I saw this. I mean, I just thought he like bought the refrigerator and was taking it out, like a guy with a dolly just walking casually out the door with the refrigerator, like, you know, there was nothing to it, and you know, I didn't
like,
think
that guy
anything of it.
stole
And like 3 minutes later, everybody from the appliance department comes running to the front. They're like, "Did you see somebody go out the door with a refrigerator?" I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, why? They're like, "He
I helped him
stole
load it
that."
in his truck. Why?
I was like, "Oh shit!" Hey,
If you look
that takes
confident
some-
enough, I mean,
That takes
half of
some
stealing
balls.
is just confidence. Yeah, that's all. You just have to look like you're supposed
Yeah.
to be there, and not like, oh my god, I'm stealing.
He wasn't running or anything. He didn't, you know. He was just casually walked out. I guess I should have known something wasn't right because it wasn't in the box. It was the refrigerator. It's like it was.
it was like the show
Display unit.
ones, like the.
But it's like it doesn't click. Like maybe he did buy that because there are floor models back there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can buy the
that they
floor
sell.
model,
So
yeah.
like it didn't, you know, there wasn't anything that made me think this guy shouldn't have this refrigerator. Because anytime I've bought an appliance there, but and maybe it's just because at both of the Lowe's that we have around here, and well, all three of the Lowe's nearby us, I know everybody that works there because I work for Lowe's. So if I buy something, I just take it out and then I bring the dolly back. Like nobody says anything about it. And maybe it was my like bias because of the way I do things that I didn't think anything of it when the guy walks out the door with like, oh yeah, he's just gonna dolly it out and put it in his truck and bring the dolly back like I do whenever I buy something. Like because you usually buy it at the appliance desk, which is in the back. So like, and we don't have somebody like standing at the front checking your receipt to make sure that you're, you know, it's in Walmart. We're not harassing you on your way out the door.
That's the one thing. Like I don't like they don't usually ask me for like for my thing unless it's like a TV, like unless you like buy a TV at Walmart or whatever. But I do find it weird just that they're just like they have the greeters there that are like watching as people leave and they have to speak to you. And it's just like I just want to get to my car, dude. I bought something. I'm just trying to walk to my car. Just let it go.
Have you guys seen the Home Depot robots yet?
No.
There's one in the Home Depot that me and Wayne go to out in Sarasota, and it looks a lot like this one. But it cruises around the store and supposedly takes inventory and supposedly keeps an eye out for shoplifters.
Yeah, like some Walmarts and Sam's Clubs has those things. I hate them. It's so weird.
I haven't seen one.
It just slowly creeps around.
I'm out in the boonies.
Yeah, we've got a Schnucks here. It's the more bougie Schnucks on the north side of town. It's the one that I like to go to because they have the best alcohol selection. But anyway, we've got one.
Sneed, Speed and Speed.
The bougie Schnucks has one, and it just like roams around the store, and I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, we sort of tested it. It was driving down the aisle, and we were standing there, and Wayne's like, "I'm not fucking moving." You know, I'm like polite, so I'm like, "Oh, excuse me, sir," to the robot. You know what I mean? And he's like, "I'm not fucking moving," and it comes up to him and stops, and it was just sort of a standoff. Yeah, it slowly, eventually worked its way just around him, and then kept on its thing, but it didn't hit him. I was like, "Let it hit you, man. We'll call John Morgan."
And all the other Morgans.
Yeah. Morgan and Morgans. You guys have Morgan and Morgan up there, right? In all your respective states?
Yeah.
We don't have Morgan anymore.
You don't have Morgan and Morgan?
I would be willing to bet you do.
I've
Yeah.
never seen one. Hold on, Morgan and Morgan.
Have you got the hammer?
He's all over the billboards. He's like apparently the only he's the only lawyer in Alabama if you only like paid attention to advertising and billboards. I can't.
No,
dude, I can't
no,
remember his name,
that's Alexander Shannara. He
Yeah, that fella.
yeah, he's the one who runs Alabama. But apparently he is.
Well,
from
yeah, John
Birmingham.
Morgan's gone nationwide recently. He was a Florida guy, but yeah, it's the biggest personal injury firm in the country. Let's see if I can find a video. But he's a trip, man. Like he's just so like out there. He was the guy who got like medical pot legal in Florida. But like he's just a guy to add like I'll sue anybody or whatever. I'll sue you. Hold on, I'm trying to find something specific. Maybe it'd be a good thing to go out on here. But I guess he got barred from going to Madison Square Gardens. He's not allowed to go to Madison Square Gardens because he sued them before. And so he has this whole video just like, hell yeah. He's like, call me up, 1-800-SUE Madison Square, MSG or whatever. Dude, he's a fucking trip, man. Okay, yeah, here it is. But just get it. So a couple things about him. First off, he wears a ton of makeup. He wears a ton of makeup because he's covered in liver spots because of drinking. He has a chauffeur, not because just because he's rich, but because he doesn't have a driver's license because of all his DUIs. This dude's a fucking trip, man.
Madison Square Garden telling me and my children and lawyers in my firm that we were not allowed in Madison Square Garden. Why? Because we have sued them or are suing them. Why? Because people got hurt there. Now look, they also told me that if I show up, I will be
they're
thrown out.
Knicks fan. I'd be hurt
Here's
too.
what I want to tell Mr. Dolan and all of his flunkies about that letter. I don't
They're hurt
give
because the
a
Knicks exist.
fuck. I have offices in Brooklyn, offices at the Empire State Building, but I can
Biggest
do
lawyer
without
in the country,
Madison
guys.
Square Garden.
Fucking awesome.
Now look, who is this guy that sent me
I don't
this
give a
letter?
fuck.
Well, have you ever heard about the guy that was born on third base and thought he hit a triple? Well, have you ever heard about the guy who was born with the silver spoon stuck so far up his ass? Or a guy who decided to build a dome in Vegas for $1 billion and now it's costing
There he goes,
$2
I guess,
billion.
just ragging on the dude.
And by the way, if you get hurt in this big sphere in Vegas, I will sue them too. Now look, who else has been kicked out of Madison Square Garden? Charles Oakley, the greatest Knick ever, kicked out. Why? I don't know. Charles, me and you go to the Nets game together. So here's what I want to tell you. Who is?
Dude, this just goes on
I
for
like
like
this
fucking
dude.
5 minutes. Yeah, he's
I
like, I'll
like
sue
this
that. Look, there's this character of the fucking dude. It's such a fucking trip.
Oh my god.
Wayne there's this place in Orlando. It's like some attraction, the Mystery House or something. And Wayne used to work there when he was like, in high school or something. And John Morgan owned it.
You
Yep.
got it.
John Morgan owned it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, he'd roll through at like 8:30 in the morning. All right, everybody, how you doing? Here's how we're doing today." But he'd have his big fucking Polar Pop cup full of booze, just stinking of liquor at 8 in the morning already, just getting going. Yeah, man, he's living his best life, dude. I love him.
SG.com. And all the lawyers in America can go there.
Get in on this.
And I'll sue on everyone's behalf.
Can't wait to collect my $3 check.
Oh shit. Yeah, man, he's something.
We can badmouth the blood sucking lawyers and everything all we want, but if more of them were like that, they wouldn't have such a bad reputation for being like horrible human beings. Like that dude just comes across as like a regular dude that wants to sue the fuck out of everybody. Like, I get on board with that.
Well, I mean, look, how do we, in lieu of government enforcement, how do we say that issues should be handled? And it's like, yes, like lawsuits, especially something like if you get hurt at a business or whatever, like, yes, if somebody is doing something blatantly dangerous or negligent, there might be a case for personal injury lawsuits, so I don't have now, can they get frivolous? Of course. You know what I mean? I don't know how many of his are frivolous or not, but sure they can be. But I mean, yeah, principally, I have absolutely no issue with personal injury fucking lawsuits. I mean, how else do you how else does this?
Well, and
you know, it's justice, and it makes the world a safer, better place, right?
And talking about the frivolous stuff, like that's where having good justices come into place. Like if you should have, like when the thing about remember, I guess it was back in like the late 90s, or maybe it was the early 90s. Anyway, the guy that got like spilled his hot coffee on himself on his lap in the McDonald's drive-in, and then he got like this huge, like he won his lawsuit, and then after that, to start putting the warning label that your hot coffee might be hot, like on everything. Like whenever something like that happens properly, then you have a frivolous suit come up. That's where the judge should be able to step in and be like, okay, this is fucking bullshit, and throw it out. But like we don't actually have justices who are trying to do their job. We have justices who are trying to basically trying to prove that they're people of the people so that they can win re-election. Like that's what makes it fucked up. And
if you didn't know that coffee was going to burn you and it was hot, then you're retarded.
Because democracy basically means government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.